Hi, Ursula.
Hello, Shelley.
How are you?
Great.
Good, good. Welcome to my Superlative Sundays, or this Superlative Sunday. I'm excited to hear what you have to share. So,
Okay.
what are you going to share with me today?
Well, last year I reread some of Herman Hesse's novels. He's my second favorite writer. It was his 60th death anniversary. He passed in August of 1962, and then I reread my all-time favoriteest book, Demian, and also Steppenwolf and Siddhartha. I reread by him.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about of the three, Demian would be your favorite then?
It's my all-time favoriteest book ever, not just by him.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love about it?
That was the first. Well, obviously I read some adult novels for English classes, but like on my own, I think that was the first real adult novel I ever read.
Oh
I
yeah.
found it in a box of my father's old books in my room, and I read it
Yeah.
over the course of about 8 months. It wasn't like slow reading. I was just taking my time, like just reading like once a week or whatever, so I could just savor it.
Wow. And you've just felt connected to it ever since?
Yeah, and I like reread it when I was about 24, 25, and then I just reread it last year when I was 42, and it meant different things to me at different things in my life, like different aspects of the novel stick out more, things that like passed over my head and that really like, resonated with me like in a different way.
Okay. What stood out about this past reading?
Like, for example, obviously the mark of Cain, that's always been like really sticking out to me. Like it's the mark of a nonconformist, someone who's like afraid to like stand out from the crowd, like someone special. It's not like necessarily what it says in the Bible. And
Oh,
that's also
okay.
part of the Jewish tradition. Like you're not supposed to literally believe everything the text says. You're supposed to like argue with it or like, just what exactly does this mean? Maybe something happened that's not exactly in the text.
Okay.
And since I've
Wow.
always been about, standing out from the crowd and not blending in, that really speaks to me as well.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome. I read Herman Hesse this past year, and I think I think I didn't get it.
Oh,
I think, but you know what? I was like, it's okay. There was a lot of philosophy in it.
right.
Yeah, and I liked his commentary on art, because doesn't he become sort of obsessed with a painting
Right.
in
Of
the
the
book?
bird breaking out of the nest.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I really like that depiction of art, because I think that that's kind of how art works on us. It sort of gets in and amongst you, and you can't stop thinking about it. You start to almost obsess over it, and it means different things in your life as you ponder it in different ways. Um, but yeah, but otherwise, I was like, it was a really surprising novel to me. So yeah. And then what did you think on, was it rereads of Siddhartha and what else? What else?
Steppenwolf. Most people say Steppenwolf, but I'm kind of pretentious. I use the German pronunciation Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf? Okay.
Steppenwolf. I realize most English speakers think that's really pretentious.
What is it? Is Steppenwolf?
Steppenwolf is how it looks like it's pronounced.
Like Steppen and then wolf?
Yeah,
Okay, but then it's in German it's Steppenwolf?
I believe it's Steppenwolf in
Ste
German.
Ste Ste if you know, if you've seen my channel, I cannot pronounce anything. Steppenwolf? Wolf?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think? I don't know anything about those two novels.
Oh,
I don't know anything about them.
I first read Steppenwolf when I was like shortly before my 20th birthday. So like December 1999, and it was like really changed my life. Although again, because I was like so young and hadn't really experienced a lot of the things, like Harry, the main character, is like very close to his 50th birthday. So like obviously at 19, almost 20, I like just didn't connect or like didn't understand some of these like really adult concepts or
Mhm.
experiences being referred to.
Did you get it differently reading it at 42?
Definitely.
Okay.
Mhm.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, does it is it like a just a slice of life kind of book, or is it
It's kind
following?
of unusual for his books. It has like a few breaks in it into sections, but they're not no chapter breaks at all. Which is, and it basically starts with like a section from a narrator who isn't the main character. He's talking about this like strange older guy who came to like rent a room with his him and his aunt living in a boarding house, I guess. And like
Oh,
when he left behind all these papers, basically this memoir about his activities and his experiences when he was living there. And then there's also like a short interlude treatise on the Steppenwolf, which like is describing Harry, the main character, to a T, and it even like talks about his plans for, you know, like not wanting to live anymore, like things like that.
oh,
And he like realizes, you know, something has to change when he meets a mysterious some young woman who's just like kind of like his twin soul a little bit, just really like
oh.
understands him on a deep level. And she helps to get him out of his shell. That was also something that resonated with me at 19. I realized, you know, I can be too like, serious and intellectual. I just need to have more fun, be lighthearted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that a theme in Hesse's work then? The sort of like twin, the like your opposite or inverse of you?
Mhm. Well, he does feature friendship frequently in all of his books. Something I
Okay.
really like about him. And the features, well, he himself, he drew very heavily from his own life. He was kind of a loner, you know, not not a huge amount of friends he had through his life. There were a lot of people who admired him and like wrote to him, and he knew a lot of people. And he did get married a few times. He had 3 sons, but he just wasn't like, you know, the life of the party. He preferred to be by himself most of the time.
Hmm. Yeah. I wonder if yeah, I just remember because Damian is about, the friendship between the main character and Damian,
Mhm.
but they're almost like two, like not like two halves of the same person. It's not that, but it's almost like he has qualities, Damian has qualities that the narrator wants in himself. And so it's just like you kind of have that battle between the two.
Right.
But yeah, so it sounds like Steppenwolf is like
Mhm.
that as well. I'm not gonna try the German
Yeah.
pronunciation.
Mhm.
But yeah, is that a longer work of his? Because Damien's
I
very short. I don't.
I think that might be his third longest book. His longest is the Glass Bead Game, which was the only one of his books I really didn't like. It was, well, he kind of redeemed himself at the, it was like really boring. Like he kind of was out of his league writing a long novel, but like at the end, he, after the main novel, he kind of redeemed himself. There's 3 live stories in a poetry section that was awesome. It was like much better than the previous novel.
Oh, okay.
And the
Wow.
second longest is Narcissus and Goldmund, which is really, really awesome. That takes place in the Middle Ages.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Oh, I had no idea that he
Yeah.
wrote his body of work even had what historical fiction, I guess.
Yeah. It's not like so much historical, it's more like literary fiction, but it does have historical details in it. Like there's an outbreak of the Black Plague at one point.
Oh, wow.
And Goldman is traveling around Germany, like learning how to be an artist.
Wow. And then so how long are these books running? These his longer works?
I
Like
think
how
Narcissus and Goldman might be like 320-ish pages.
Oh, so not even like 700 or 800 or
No,
like
even
these
the Glass Bead Game is under 500, even with the stories and the poetry at the end.
really? Oh, okay. So he's not one to like just ramble on or
You know,
like
he excelled at
super
the
deep.
short form. That's the
Yeah.
opposite of me. I excel at longer writing longer novels usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know that. Yeah. I understand. I'm like, I can't make a short video if it saved my life. It's just-
Mm.
but yeah, I know that authors prefer different lengths. So
Right.
so what is Siddhartha about?
It's, some people might be mistaken from the title thinking it's about Buddha. It's actually not, although Buddha does appear in the novel. It's this young man from the Brahmin caste in ancient, I believe it's Nepal, not India, and he and his best friend Govinda, they, you know, want to leave home and like learn how to become like ascetics and reach enlightenment. And his father is not very happy about it, giving up the rich lifestyle, but he like finally realizes, you know, it can't be changed. His son's mind is made up, and he like gives them permission to go. And just like Siddhartha is not, I mean, he's happy with what he's learning. He enjoys the experience, but he's just feeling, I want my own spiritual pathway. And then like Buddha comes through town, and Govinda is like so impressed. I want to become one of Buddha's disciples and become a monk. And Siddhartha meets Buddha and says like, I think you're awesome and your teachings are wonderful, but I'm afraid if I go and follow you, they'll become like another ego for me or an idol for me, and I just like, want to find my own path through life. And Buddha tells him, like, go, my son, I'm giving you my blessing, but just be careful. And then he meets a he goes into a town and meets a beautiful courtesan named Kamala, and like she teaches him the art of pleasure and like more secular life. And he also goes into business with this other guy, and he learns a lot while he's in town. But eventually, he just realizes this isn't who I am. I've got to go back into the forest and like learn my own path. And
Oh,
there's a ferryman named Vasudeva who originally took him across the river like about 20 years ago or so, and he meets back up with Vasudeva, and he realizes his like goal in life is to serve him, or like not serve him, like work with him alongside in the forest. And he has several other encounters with his best friend Govinda on and off throughout the years. And there's some, I won't spoil it, but there's some like other surprise people he meets from his past and people he didn't know about.
okay. Wow. So he ends up doing what he set out to do in some ways, like find his own path.
Yeah, and he finds enlightenment at the end, like his own way. That was also big about Hesse. He loved Eastern religions. I'm also been like highly influenced by like aspects of Eastern religions myself.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, he sounds like he's been like a really good influence, like on your life.
Right, he's one of
Yeah.
those writers who kind of feels like a friend when I'm reading what his books, just because he had so many things in common with me, like the interest in Eastern like, philosophy and religion, feeling like a loner, being like apart from the crowd. I'm interested in art. He did a lot of watercolors himself. He wasn't a professional
Oh.
artist, but he wasn't just like scribbling in a sketchbook. He was like took it seriously.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right. Right. So you said he's your second favorite author. So then,
Yes,
who is your first?
Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn.
Oh, okay. I haven't read anything by him.
Yeah.
No.
I discovered him. Well, I knew. I guess I found out about him in was it 10th grade, I would guess, maybe at the end of ninth grade. And then I started reading him in late December 95, like shortly after I turned 16, the first circle. And it was like still a long book, but that was the censored version. It has since been like published in like an expurgated translation. I think it now has like 96 chapters in it.
Wow.
And that
Wow.
takes place in a sharashka, it's part of the Gulag system, but it was kind of like an institute for scientific and mathematical research among like higher ranking prisoners. Zeki is what they were called in slang. Zechka or Zechki would be a female prisoner.
Oh,
And
wow.
Stalin also appears in that book.
Wow.
It's really good.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I've heard of the author, but I've not picked anything up, by him.
Mm.
So,
Well, I think Hesse wrote about like 11 novels, and he also wrote a number of short stories and like nonfiction stuff, like observations about his own life.
yeah.
One of his other favorites of mine is Ross Halda. That's one of his earlier books. I think it was 1914. It was also based on his life, like the main character's marriage is falling apart and there's some conflict. Like his older son doesn't really relate to the father. He's kind of like standoffish, closer to the
Oh,
mother, and he's much closer to the younger son who gets very sick with, I believe it's like meningitis during the summer. And then there's a
wow.
visiting friend who also throws drama into the mix.
I don't know if you know of Steve Donahue on YouTube.
Yeah, follow him.
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody does. But he'll say like his famous like he'll constantly say like I prefer so and so's nonfiction over their fiction because it's
Mhm.
so different and sometimes it's so much, I think, less experimental and more clear cut and like
Mhm.
just kind of getting to the heart of things. So do you notice a big difference between Hesse's fiction and nonfiction works?
Well, it was, I guess, like because he drew so closely from his own personal life for his writing. I mean, obviously, like some people might say, "Oh, he's doing a self-insert or whatever." He just, sometimes you just naturally incorporate things from your own life into the writing, and it doesn't feel like you're just writing about yourself, just with a different name and some details tweaked. It just like that was what naturally came to him to write about because it was, so close to his own life.
Have you read any biographies about Hesse just since you
I
are?
had started one like last year. I had to return it to the library, but I'm thinking maybe I can buy a copy for myself because what I read was really, really good,
Yeah.
called The Wanderer in His Shadow.
Oh, okay. Wow. Perfect. That's a good title. It seems like
Yeah.
a good title because,
Mhm.
again, it seems like a lot of his works he has, for at least from your descriptions, that there's not just friendship, but like sort of that the duality of our natures inside
Right.
of the books, which is
Mhm.
what I got from Demian. Again, I'm not sure if I fully grasped that book, which is why it kind of tainted my experience with it.
Right.
I was like, what is happening?
Right.
So, but then I'm like, you know what? It's okay if certain books may not be for me, but
Mhm.
and I always appreciate when someone else loves something that I don't always get because then
Mhm.
they can tell me what I missed.
Right.
So yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
was a world of difference. Like, some of these books I hadn't read for like 20 years. So like that's basically an entire lifetime you're going through. And like even if I liked them and like generally understood what they were about, you just have frequently different like adult experiences and just the experience of getting older in general. It's a whole new life on the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. So and then you can also kind of reflect back on like what your younger self got from the book,
Hmm.
and you're contrasting it with your younger self. So,
Right.
which is so incredible, by the way.
I know I look a
Yeah.
lot younger than I am.
Yeah, I think I had seen a video of yours and you had said that, well, and then even in this conversation, you've said that you're in your 40s, and I was like
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I know, yeah, but I mean, you know what? Looking youthful is a gift, at least for
Right.
a lot of people. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, everybody's like fighting the concept of aging these
Hmm.
days. So, yeah, but I'm like, isn't aging perhaps a sign that you've had a good life or that you've had a life?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I try not to fight it too hard.
Hmm.
Was there anything else you wanted to share?
Well, I think the best new to me book that I read last
Oh,
year was The Betrothed. This is a classic of like Italian literature. It was published and written in the early 19th century, but it's set in the 17th century.
oh yeah.
This was like a really intense, epic novel, and it was really helpful for me because unfortunately, a lot of other writers have this issue. We feel like since we start seriously writing towards publication, whether it's like traditional publication or self-publishing, like indie, like publishing, like I ultimately chose, we read more like writers. So we're all, even if like we recognize that the book is good, this is a good writer, like he used his language well, oh, you're like stopping the forward momentum to like do some backstory, or like do we really care about all these characters being introduced? And so I was basically just reading like a reader, and because of, they have old styles of like writing that we're taught not to do, like, oh, don't like do a backstory about this character, or don't like stop the forward momentum for a few chapters about this character's like backstory, or just a different plot thread that doesn't relate to the main things. But here it just seemed to work so perfectly, like it was a natural part of the book, not just like a gimmick or like weak writing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, what is the book about?
These two young people are betrothed, and there's like their priest like refuses to marry them because there's this like snaky guy who has his designs on the woman, and he like has some of his guys, his thugs, threaten the priest, like if say he says like if you marry this couple, like you're gonna like get what's coming to you. And so he refuses to do it, and they try to like sneakily like do a marriage ceremony anyway, kind of like a de facto marriage, like you present like, oh, this is my wife, and like here is the ring, and because the priest witnessed it, it has to be a legitimate marriage. I don't know if that's still recognized in Catholicism or what. There's a similar concept in Judaism, like if you give the woman a ring and recite the marriage formula in front of like two like religiously observant witnesses, you created a marriage, even if it's not like technically a real wedding
Oh
ceremony.
my gosh.
Yeah, and but so like that like sneaky ceremony they tried under the table, that fails too, and they have to like go into hiding, and they're separated for a long time.
Oh
And they meet
wow.
a lot of interesting characters along the way.
Yeah. That's fantastic. How did you hear about a novel like that?
I did a buddy read with Tom LA Books and Christina at Knitting Books, etc. I believe her channel is called.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I never even heard of it. It
Yep.
sounds really good though.
I think this is the first, other than like children's books about the Pilgrims and the Puritans, the only or the first 17th century novel I've read besides Forever Amber, which I love that book too.
I don't know about that book. Who is
Oh.
that by?
Kathleen Winsor. It was published in, I think, 1944.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my
Uh,
copy has the text, and I think that copy went into storage by mistake. Like I put it in a box of special books I thought would come with me when I moved, but I think it like got separated. So, but the text is in two columns on like very thin pages. I think it was published like that because of World War II and paper shortages.
oh,
Mhm.
wow. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I know sometimes I feel like when I read about, I mean, because you mentioned what the Puritans and the Pilgrims, and it's like
Yeah,
all kind of doom and gloom and survival,
right.
and like,
Hmm.
I'm just like it's not a fun time over there.
No.
So
Hmm.
I don't love that time period, although I think it's probably one that I should get to know better.
Right.
But the betrothal sounds really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, especially if it's one that just made you read rather than like turn on your author brain, you know?
Right. And I was also, this is, I don't know if this is off topic or not. Like I was reading it during last May, and the first half of that month, unfortunately, I discovered I'm allergic to penicillin, and like one of the side effects was like my hands were like so stiff I could, like barely like move them at all, and so I still managed to like read it and hold the book somehow.
Wow, what a terrible discovery. I mean,
I
just
know,
to have to live through that.
right? I'm never taking penicillin again.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I've ever taken penicillin. As I mentioned, I had strep, so they gave me amoxicillin
Oh
to
yeah.
help get rid of it.
Hmm.
So, but the real stuff they kind of reserve,
Hmm.
for, I don't know for when, but yeah, and I had already been on antibiotics, so it was kind of like another dose of medicine, but thank goodness because it cleared up quickly. It was rough. Like it was not fun having strep.
Right. Mhm.
So, yeah. Anyhow, well, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to say bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.